of course, 92.3 FAN in Cleveland. Get some thoughts. And he says hello. Daryl, Christopher Russo, nice to talk. How are you today, pal? Okay?
I'm doing well, Chris. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Nice to have you with us here. Let's start with where we are with Mayfield. Listen, he's had about, 10, 12 practices. They play the Giants here on Thursday night. What is the feeling? I know he's confident. What is the feeling? How's he looked here the first 2 weeks of training camp? Where do we stand here for this first preseason game?
Well, he looks good, but he still looks like a rookie quarterback, and Tyrod Taylor still looks like the better player between them. So you're going to see a lot of Baker Mayfield Thursday night against the New York Football Giants. But really, there's no quarterback competition here in Cleveland because that's how they're setting it up. They want Taylor to be the starter. They said that from day number one. They actually said that the day that they traded for Tyrod Taylor. So regardless of who they were taking in April, Taylor was going to be the starter. The kid was going to hold the clipboard and learn on the job. So you can see the progress from the spring through the mini camp, through the first 11 practices here in training camp. Baker's done some nice things, but he is doing some on-the-job learning per Hugh Jackson's directive.
All right, so in other words then, Daryl, you're telling me that he could light up preseason and Tyrod could be so-so and Tyrod Taylor is still going to start week one against Pittsburgh?
If they stick to their plan, absolutely. And keep in mind that I expect Baker Mayfield to light it up in preseason because he's going to be going against the number 2 defense. Now, in practice here, what's interesting is Baker Mayfield in the 11-on-11 stuff, he's been going against a lot of times the first-team defense. And that first-team defense has had some times where they've made him look like a rookie. So he's lucky he's not allowed to be hit here in training camp. I will say that.
Wow. So we know he got the red jersey on. So has there been anything, with his height, with the throws he can make? I mean, the system in Oklahoma fit him perfectly. Have any of those questions been answered if that translates to the next level?
Well, I'll say this about Baker. I obviously, when they drafted him, was concerned about the height. I'm one of those guys that likes my quarterbacks to be the prototypical 6'4", 200-plus pounds. Baker is stronger than he looks. He looks like he can take a hit, and he's not going to fall apart. The other thing that really impresses me about Baker when I watch him in practice is, you mentioned the height thing and that's everything that we're all focused on. He has an innate ability to find the throwing lanes in between the linemen. And for a guy that might not have as clean a vision, he throws not only a beautiful football, but he throws footballs that are on target. They're on the right shoulder. They're in stride with the receiver. They're in a position where only the receiver can make a play on the football. Those are very impressive things for me to watch when I observe him in practice, considering he is, as we like to say, a smidge below 6 feet, 1 inch.
All right. Has Tyrod Taylor, has he played the mentor? Is he just trying to make sure he's the starter? How's the relationship between the two of them?
It seems to be pretty good. One of the fun things these quarterbacks did, they've got an RV. Drew Stanton, the veteran, is the guy that really has Baker under his wing. He's the number 3 quarterback on the depth chart. One of the things he said to Baker during the OTAs and minicamp was, hey, you need to get us an RV for training camp. And Baker actually thought Drew was joking, and then Drew made it very clear, I'm not joking. There will be an RV at training camp, and voila, we have a quarterback RV here at training camp where they're able to kind of relax and, use their downtime and watch some film, maybe play some games and take a nap, those type of things. So the relationship amongst the quarterbacks is pretty solid. There isn't any animosity. Tyrod Taylor knew what he was getting into. Baker Mayfield, after he was drafted, the Browns sat him down, explained their plan to him. He's not provided any type of resistance. And you talk to Drew Stanton, he's thrilled to be here and take a kid like Baker Mayfield under his wing and show him what it means to be a professional quarterback in the National Football League.
And I know Hugh Jackson's had some, he had some personal tragedy here in the last few weeks with his mother. Right. I had a sibling that passed away too, so I get that. But they are 0-16. You figure he's coaching for his life, and he has a better chance to get off the snide with a couple of wins early if he plays the rookie, if he plays Taylor over the rookie. Does he make the call when there's a switch or when Mayfield starts? Does the GM does the owner make the call? Who is eventually going to pull the switch? The head coach, GM, or owner is when we're going to see Mayfield play?
Well, it's been made very clear that this is Hugh Jackson's football team. He's the coach. John Dorsey has been very clear in that his job is to buy the groceries, and it is Hugh Jackson's job to cook the meal and deal with game day. So I would imagine that it is going to be Hugh Jackson's decision should they at some point this season make a quarterback change. Keep in mind, historically, this is the 20th season that the Cleveland Browns have been back in the NFL. And since that expansion or reincarnation or whatever you want to call it, 1999 was, as they have had one single season, 2001, Tim Couch, the only quarterback to start all 16 regular season games. They have never had, besides him, a quarterback survive the length of a regular season. They need 2, 3. They've had years where they need 4 quarterbacks. 2016, they needed 6 quarterbacks just to get through the 16-game schedule. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to win games first and foremost because, as you mentioned, 1-31 with Hugh Jackson. They want to get to winning as quickly as possible. They feel that Tyrod Taylor affords them that opportunity. If you put Baker Mayfield on the field, now it's basically classes in session each and every Sunday, and you're going to have to deal with those rookie mistakes. Considering they had rookies on the field each of the last 2 years, the most recent, Deshaun Kaiser, who led the world in turnovers during the regular season a year ago, they don't want to be in that same situation this year.
Daryl Ruiter on the Browns. Thoughts from Cleveland, 92.3 FAN. He's there, of course, does a good job with us. They also need to make sure probably that Mayfield starts the season as the number 3 quarterback, right? I mean, because Taylor could get hurt. He runs a lot. We all know that. Bit of a small, itty-bitty guy. You just mentioned the fact that the Browns have gone through 1 million QBs, and I don't probably want to put Mayfield in the first couple games, so chances are Stanton will be the backup quarterback. Is that the case?
I would imagine that'll be how it plays out. Stanton has a 2-year contract, but I think that that's something that's to be determined. It depends how Baker Mayfield comes along during training camp in the preseason, and then I think Hugh Jackson will make that evaluation. But I think right now it's too early to tell on that.
Too early to say. All right, now, what is your thoughts here on when you're going to have to play Mayfield eventually? I mean, I don't know I know the Browns' schedule. We don't know about the AFC West, the NFC South. Not easy. When is their bye? That's when coaches like to play the backup quarterback. Make a quarterback change, make a move to in this case, the number 1 pick. When is their bye? Could you see him playing after the bye week? How's that come with the Cleveland schedule?
Yeah, I think that their bye is after week 7, and I'm just guessing there because I don't have the schedule in front of me. But it is almost like right in the middle of the season. It's almost the dividing point for them, which is great. Also, they've got a mini bye because they got that week 3 Thursday night game against the New York Jets. Depending how that first half of the season goes, I think will determine whether or not they put Baker Mayfield on the field in the second half of the season. Historically, when you look at the numbers, Tyrod Taylor tends to start strong, and then he tends to tail off as the season progresses, especially late in the year. See what happened last year up in Buffalo when he was benched, even with the Bills in playoff contention. So the sense I get from this organization right now, Chris, is they are in no hurry to put Baker Mayfield on the field. And seeing how the history of the Browns has gone over the last 19, 20 years, I honestly agree with the organization and think that that's the smart play.
Yeah, late bye, even later than we thought there, Daryl, week 11. So we'll see how they handle that. Last thing, the fan base, dying for a savior, deserving a savior. They know Tyrod Taylor did not succeed necessarily on a day in, day out basis in Buffalo. They're going to be chomping at the bit to get Mayfield in these games, especially if they get into a bad start. They have to play a little role. Give me some thoughts on that for a sec. What can you tell me there?
Yeah, well, I mean, nothing breeds optimism in Cleveland like 2 events. The NFL draft and training camp. Nobody thinks that's when everyone thinks the Browns that this is the year for them to turn it around. But you know what? There's actually reason for tangible optimism. Number one, it can't get any worse. They went 0-16 last year, so they're going to win a game this year. So it's automatically they're going to come into this season improved over a year ago. Secondly, all the roster moves that were made, again, bringing in Tyrod, bringing in Jarvis Landry, giving him a contract extension, Demarius Randall, the safety that they got from the Green Bay Packers in the Deshaun Kaiser trade. He's a really good player. They drafted Denzel Ward to be back in their secondary, Emmanuel Ogbah, Myles Garrett. The defensive ends had 11 sacks between them last year, despite having their seasons cut short due to injury. There's a lot of excitement about those guys. Jamie Collins, the former Pro Bowler that they traded with the Patriots to get, who got hurt last year, he's healthy. So as long as they have their players healthy, this organization is very excited about the team that they're putting on the field and the ability to compete week in and week out and, quite frankly, win football games. And the fans really have picked up on that, and you can sense that here in Cleveland.
But we will see Mayfield here before the end of the season. You'd be shocked, correct?
Yeah, I would be surprised if we don't see Baker Mayfield this year, even if I don't think that that's the right thing to do. But just me having covered this team for as long as I have, things like that happen. So I do expect to see Baker at some point.
Daryl, great job. Thanks for the update today. Appreciate it very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Daryl Ruiter, some thoughts on the Browns.